Hello, my name is Marina Brown, and I'm graduating with my MFA in poetry from San Diego State University. Today I'll be discussing poet and prose writer Paisley Rechtel and reading a few of my own imitation poems. Paisley Rechtel received an MA from the University of Toronto and an MFA from the University of Michigan. She's the author of 6 volumes of poetry, including Nightingale, which was published with Copper Canyon in 2019. Rechtel is also the author of a book-length essay, an essay collection, and a hybrid genre memoir. She is a recipient of several prestigious fellowships and in 2017 was Poet Laureate of Utah. She teaches at the University of Utah and lives in Salt Lake City. She is generous enough to be a part of our Living Writers course in spring 2022. I find Paisley Rechtel's poetry to be incredibly sharp, intense, and rich. Much of it can be dark and brutal, but it's always intelligent and honest. When thinking of my own writing for this imitation assignment, I focused on strong emotional ties of Section 3 of Rechtel's book, Nightingale, which begins on page 55. I considered how memory functions as a catalyst for art, and the ways in which Rechtel's poems spoke to each other like the links in the same chain. They unravel beautiful and terrible conflict between the speaker and her subjects. For me, it can be difficult to stay in a space of anger in a poem, but I relate to so many of these themes of womanhood and the use of nature as metaphor for love and loss and longing. Much of my writing is also about being a woman alone in nature. Like Rechtel, I like to incorporate sensory details as well as a direct address to a you, while remaining self-aware and self-referential. I was also conscious of Rechtel's knowledge of myths and traditions, and how she weaves these in with words like damson or labyrinth, suggesting timelessness and the complexity mirrored by her consistent style. Thank you for listening. Poem 1, Night Garden. It is the great sudden stratus of my hair. It is the cat glancing the fence toward a radiata pine. Hawk moths among the still combs of heavy bunch grass. These clusters in April, flooding the lawn like music, the syncopations of wind flutes, the low whistles, the Spanish chords of our lonely sphere. It is the waves of traffic in the Pacific collapsing at us from 2 long sides, breaking vapor into the air. You rise with your entire body, like I am learning to, taking levitating steps, your bare soles hot. Still, I sound the water, as if you might turn and whisper me home, like a rope whipping tight, my ligaments minute by minute unlatching from mind to a body that's a vessel, full of entryways down the curves of its counterstern, so that when you return and tap your breastbone with one hand, I move and press my face into resin, teakwood, and jasmine, which I love as I love the dark, or anything calm. A reach above you, there is the peach gradient glow of wax and hollow rock salt. It all looks to me like the flickering Everest of some analog earth. Poem 2, Sequoias. See how black the trees become in the minute after dusk, pressed against the flat far range of sheared, imagined mountain. The gradient red and cold, half owl gray, the sun cut only at its crown with a stripe of pale yellow. The road is a curving barricade, a slice of sphere, coated with aluminum to shine back a dying light. It's another thing I could never explain to you, how lower and lower, within the thickening of those needle-soft silhouettes of pine, is where I miss you most, like a sudden sink of danger in my chest. See how, no matter where I'm traveling, I start and mark what might be your direction, though I was, just before this moment, full of dreamless sleep, and only chanced to glance beyond my mast at that horizon. Poem 3, Ghost Story, Stairs in the Woods. When you open your mind to the impossible, sometimes you find the truth. Walter Bishop, Fringe. At dusk, my northern woods, amber and glow green, pine, lupin, and dry oak leaves spilling across the unnamed paths. I hike, warm and half asleep beneath my lonely weights, their stifled pains. I hear the ring of distant hidden silver falls as the evening winds fade slowly into silence. I think perhaps I have come for what would come for me. The sun guides me from its range like an elder king, its last rays through the branches like lens flares in your hair or at your autumn kitchen window. I go, small beneath the chaparral, scrub oak, and chemise, at least until the brush dissolves, then opens into a lowland glade. Its view is closed, like a painting turned somehow strange and bright and static. There is no crackle of leaves, no bird call, nothing falling, only a massive archway, humming what sounds just like my name, close up ahead. No, it sounds like your piano, a paraphrase of your church echo voice, this rugged stairway made of stone in center stage. It glimmers with idyllic rain. I think it has waited for so long, for someone with no cause to be afraid, for someone with nothing left to give or take, for someone to skim, like foam, from the obscure waters of our sphere. For a minute, for a year, I study its geometry, then shake away my coat, unlace my boots, and the first soft pressing of my foot upon the landing and its welcome stare tastes like the entrance to your room. In some adjacent prior moment, I know that you were here, rising up this way, so alive as if to splinter, shoulders sloped to keep composure. For the first time since my birth, I do not turn along with that dark, coercive earth. The blue stone steps are sweet and cold. My mind becomes their open castle, wind-worn manifold. I am a glint on their flat faces. I nearly touch the tops of the inert trees. I keep my balance, slowly merging with the exosphere of leaves. Years pass below. The night-stuffed cities swell and crouch. I feel the scatter of my own animal bones. But already I've begun to seek you out. Already I am nothing but perception, but dimension, but an unaccountable devotion. I do not pause as I step off the edge of that imitation of earthwork.